and I'm going to mute this.
All right, we are back. We're trying to figure out how to record this, and I couldn't do it from my share screen, but we are back and rolling. Today we're going to talk about networking, how to grow your business network. This program is a joint venture between the Columbus Chamber of Commerce, and it's actually brought to you today by the Think Local Columbus team. And for those of you that don't know about the Think Local Columbus team, there's some opportunities to get involved. The Think Local Columbus Committee was founded by a group of passionate individuals backed by the Chamber on a mission to inspire the community to always think local. We have more than 8,600 community members employed by dining and retail alone. So that group really recognized the importance of keeping our dollars local. With more than just a focus on the local economy, we wanted to be sure to aim our small businesses with the tools and resources they needed to be successful. So they're always proud to offer a diverse assortment of classes with many more on the way. And these classes are going to cover topics such as planning, digital marketing, customer service, hiring local help, and a whole lot more, including how to grow your business network today. I'll introduce myself for those of you that may not know. I'm Bob Shafstall. I'm the membership director at the Columbus Area Chamber of Commerce. And I am a passionate networker. I really believe in networking. When I was in pest control, it really turned my business around. So I wanted to share this with you guys. Let's start today with a quote. When we network, we increase our knowledge and opportunities and also amplify the messages we spread about our companies. That is a wonderful summary of what it is and why we network. And man, does that ever make it sound easy. But I'm telling you, it is not easy, and it can be super awkward from time to time. So has your mouth ever turned dry and your palms got really sweaty at just the mere thought of heading into a room full of strangers to introduce yourself? Well, I've got news for you. Pretty much everybody thinks networking is painfully awkward, especially at the beginning. So today, one of our big goals is we want to try to get you past that and avoid those sweaty palms. And, you know, we always see people at some of our networking events for the first time where they're hiding over in the corner looking for a window. Hey, is there a bathroom that I can maybe slide out the window and escape through the alley so I don't have to go back in? So we really just want to try to help everybody get a little more comfortable with it. So no need to worry, Super Networkers here. Cammie made that slide for me and I left it in because I thought it was cute, but we said, okay, not really, but here's some tips. So today what we're going to go over is a threefold approach as far as preparation, what to do at an event, and then some follow-up to the event. And then I also want to go over just a couple concepts. And then I've got my world famous, if anybody sat in my office and ask anything about networking, I will give them my laws of networking. And so a lot of people have heard this. So if you ever need a refresh, I'm happy to talk about it. I always view as networking as coming in from three separate columns. Your first column is your friends, family, your church groups, you know, anybody that you're personally involved with. That's one group we network with, and that's the easy one because we all have those. The second pillar of networking of the three would be the Chamber of Commerce. And that's a way that you can start to get some crossover between the groups and really grow your networking. And the third pillar is a service group, whether it's Kiwanis or Key Club or Rotary or a BNI group. I'm always big, if you really want to make an impact and get yourself out in the community, that all three of those peers is very important. And we'll work today to show you some ways to kind of get through that and utilize those. So as we're approaching the networking event that's coming up, let's say we've got a speed networking session, there's a business after hours, whatever it may be. I think the first thing to do is to really prepare, but don't over rehearse your elevator pitch. Some people will come up with a really great elevator pitch and they'll read it and it doesn't come across as genuine and it will really turn people off. I'm a big fan of having two separate elevator pitches. The first elevator pitch should be about 10 seconds. And that one is, you're going to get asked 1,000 times as you go through your business career of, hey, what do you do? And I think that's important to say, rather than say, well, I work at the Columbus Chamber of Commerce, and they go, wow, I don't know what a chamber is, and they don't want to talk to me anymore, or they think they know what the chamber is with some preconceived bias that they may have, and they still don't want to talk to me. So coming up with something that's a little attention grabbing, that tells more about what you do at that location. For instance, when they come up and say, Bob, what do you do? I say, well, I help people grow their business and build better connections to the community. And a lot of people at that point will go, oh, wow, how do you do that? And now we can say, well, I work at the chamber, I'm the membership director, so on and so forth. So that 10-second one's really important. I also think that when we sit down at like a speed networking event where you're going to have 2 or 3 minutes to tell your story, that you should come up with that one as well. So that one's really going to be that. And what you're really trying to do in those elevator speeches is answer the question, what do you do, in an honest way. So that's step one as far as preparation, is we've got our elevator pitch down. Number 2 is, by all means, pack plenty of business cards. Business cards, whether it's a phone, something on your phone you can share, or the old school cards, are important. At a lot of these networking events, you're going to meet 20 people plus, and you're not going to have a really good I struggle with names. So I'll meet people and I'll know, hey, I met somebody that did this and I can't remember their name. I'd really like to reach out to them. I can go through those cards and say, oh, it was Susan, and I'm going to call Susan and follow up. So make sure you have your cards. We also encourage at a lot of our events is, number 3 is, don't be afraid to call in reinforcements. Find a buddy to go with you. When I started going to chamber events, Jen Potts from Chick-fil-A was my chamber buddy. And we would actually meet in a parking lot and walk in together. And it really made that first one, where we knew no one, really more comfortable. And we could introduce ourselves to the people we knew. And we did that for several trips. And we finally quit because we would walk in, and that was the last time I saw Jen. She was out doing her thing, I was doing mine. We got comfortable and no longer needed those reinforcements. But anytime, if you guys are coming to a chamber event, and almost any networking, they're there to have people out there for everyone to meet, network with, share referrals, help each other out. So never be afraid to bring a friend. And then the last thing I want to talk about as far as preparation is, have a loose plan when we network. A lot of times when you're new, you say, I'm going to go in this room and I'm going to meet everybody. And you find out that by going around to everybody and not providing them with enough information about what it is that you do, it gets a little salesy and can actually turn people off. And it's kind of an unrealistic expectation that you're going to walk into this room and just meet everybody. So what I always recommend is, instead of shooting for everyone in the room, your first couple times out, set a goal to talk to at least 3 people. And a lot of times it's just 3 people. And there's a thing about creative networking that I'm a big believer in, and that is, it really doesn't matter what 3 people you talk with, because when we're networking, you're not just talking to the person, you're also letting that person know what it is you do, and they're going out to all their spheres of influence. So that one person may be able to refer you to their network of 500 people. So if they all have 500 people they know and can refer you to, you talk to 3 people, that's 1,500 people that you have possible referrals from. So always work on talking to at least 3 people, and that should be a good start. When it's time for it's showtime, it's the day of the event. When you're pulling in there, do 2 things. Make sure you woke up early enough, had a good breakfast, are in a good mood. I always kid people that bad attitudes are one of the biggest detriments to business. No one wants to talk to somebody that's mean and nasty and having a terrible day and not afraid to show it. So make sure that you're in the right frame of mind. Give yourself a pep talk. Say, hey, I can do this. This is what I'm going to talk about. I've done my prep work. I'm ready. Let's go. Also, focus on quality over quantity. Small talk is important regardless, but the goal is to have 3 to 5 good conversations at that meeting. While we're talking about small talk, a lot of people, if you read the networking information and books will tell you that, you really want to avoid small talk at a network session. And I don't believe that. I'm a big believer in a lot of the people that I got referrals from and that I work with are all friends, because we will small talk. I'll learn about, what's going on. I talked to Brian Payne, who's on the call today, about a show that his kids are doing that I follow on Facebook. And so we just find some common ground. You become friends with them, and it's so much easier to do business with them when you know something about them. A lot of times at our events, we'll always encourage everybody to say something fun about yourself, give a fun fact that nobody knows. And the purpose of that is we're kind of forcing you to do that. The idea being, you run into this person that you've met at a networking event at Kroger, and you say, I want to go say hi. And you come over and you go, hey, Joe, how you doing? He says, good. How's business? I say, mine's really good. How's yours? He says, good. And then we kind of nod heads and just walk away. If we know something where I know Joe's a big Pittsburgh Steelers fan, I can go, hey, Joe, how are the Steelers looking this year? And now he wants to talk to me. And then that business will all come natural. So don't be afraid of small talk. Treat networking as best as you can like a normal conversation. If you approach it as a normal conversation, you'll have far more compelling discussions, and it'll just feel a lot less sleazy. No one wants, you wouldn't go in and talk with your friends and lead with, hey, I'm selling this really cool program and you should totally join it. Because now everybody's kind of put off by that. And they're like, who is this guy and what is he selling and why? The other thing that for the big event that I want you to consider is go beyond your job title. You're going to be asked, like we talked at the top, what do you do 1,000 times at these network sessions? Don't tell everybody I'm a systems analyst with Forcia, because unfortunately, no, they may not know what Forcia is, and they may not know what a systems analyst is. So never be afraid to go beyond and tell people specifically what you do. And as they learn more about what you do, they'll be easier to connect with each other. Another tip at these networking events is, I call this the easy way, is spot the stragglers. If you're new, you're not the only one that's new. And there'll be this big discussion, usually centered around those edges. There's those guys that are standing out going, what did I do? What did I get into? Gosh, I am so uncomfortable. Go talk to them. I do it a lot as a seasoned networker, because those are the people that will really want to talk to you and hear what you have to say. And they usually can help. And so really spot those stragglers. They will be super happy to have somebody to talk with. So remember them. Also, the last thing to focus on when it's showtime is listen more and talk less. There is a amazing thing that's just absolutely pure magic that happens when you meet people. And that is, it's absolute magic how much more other people are interested in you when you care about their business. When you show some genuine interest in them and what they do, they will just love that, and they will be more interested in you. So just remember that, to always listen more, talk less, ask somebody a lot of questions, and that will help spark some of these discussions. As soon as someone, because everybody, I think from a psychological standpoint, is a lot of people think they're really smart. And when somebody else is kind of nodding their head and saying, yeah, that's a great idea, that is really smart, they go, man, this guy I'm talking to that thinks I'm smart must be right. He's really smart too. And it just kind of works that way. So it's a little psychological advantage you can have there. And then the next part of all of this, these networking sessions, is, hey, we've taken the time, we've done the preparation, we've came out, and we're getting ready to talk about this networking session. So what do we do after it's over? The big thing that we want to do is follow up. You need to maintain those solid connections. So if you're not willing to invest in a follow-up, don't bother coming in the first place. Networking is all about relationships, not just introductions, and relationships are going to require some work and effort on your part. So after we've met everybody, we've got this stack of cards. Later that afternoon, the following couple days, send out a LinkedIn request. Try to hook up with them there and send them a follow-up email. And those emails can be really great, especially if you're in a sales role or you're trying to raise awareness of your business, because you can send out a very positive thing. Hey, it was great to meet you. If you have any questions, please let me know. Just let everybody know that you were there. And it's even more powerful if you can recite back something you talked about, even if it was a fun or funny fact. Hey, Joe, I hope the Steelers have the season you think they are. I'm looking forward to it until they play the Colts. Now you've got a relationship. It's not just a business type issue. So that's what I really want you to think about and prep as far as how we approach an actual networking event. Right now, I want to go into just some concepts that people always think about and maybe don't think enough about. And that is networking versus socializing. We see this a lot where somebody will come to a networking event, they'll have their business shirt on, they'll have their business name tag, and they'll just go around and talk to the four people that they know at the event. And then they call their membership director at the chamber and say, hey, Bob, I really didn't get anything out of that. And if you go back and look at them, it's like you never bothered to try to introduce yourself to anybody new. You didn't try to raise your visibility. You didn't try to listen to what someone else was doing and offer help. So that's why you fail. So really, when we get down to the difference between the two things, between socializing and networking, it's goals. They both have a lot of things in common. They both require you to be a good listener. They require you to be enjoyable, and you really should have some kind of a mutually beneficial element where both of you get something out of this conversation. But really, the difference is goals. And like we talked about with small talk, one of the biggest misunderstandings about networking is you should only talk business, because really the goal is to create a long lasting relationship that we can, do business with each other for years. It takes a little more time. And that leads us up to our next bit as far as time and information, and that is hunting versus farming. We've all been to the event where there's the guy that comes around and he's trying to sell you something. And all he does is give you the hard pitch. And as you're sitting around exchanging cards, he's asking, hey, if I can do this for you, are you ready to buy today? At networking events, it's not designed to actually go out and close sales. That's what I just, people get that wrong a lot. And I have to have some conversations where it's more about fostering those relationships and finding out who I need to talk to get the sales after the event. So anybody that comes out and does the really fast, hard sell, we call them hunters. They're going to have some minor success at the front end, and then nobody's going to want to talk to them, and they're going to slowly just disappear. So let's look at networking as more of farming. It's going to take some time to cultivate those really good relationships. If you spend the time on the front end, you're going to end up with great relationships, and you guys can do business together for years. So spend the extra time to do that. We were talking about this concept of hunting versus farming, and they said, well, I don't even like to consider the farming portion networking. I call it net worthing. Because if you really look at someone who's successful in their career and has made a ton of money, the one thing they all have in common is, without fail, they have huge networks. They have huge networks of people that they do business with. They have huge networks of people they can refer other people to. So always think about net worthing, and that just takes some time. It's not an overnight sensation. So this next part is what I always tell people, and I always almost apologize before we get in, because some of these sound kind of corny, but they're fun and something we should all think about. And this is just my networking laws to live by. The first one on the list is the law of likability. And the law of likability says this: you market yourself more than your product or service at any networking event. And that is absolutely true. You could have the greatest product in the history of products, the greatest service. And if you come to that networking event and you're kind of a jerk and you're short with people and you're just grumpy, no one will care. No one wants to do business with you. The more you can relate to people and listen and help, now all of a sudden you're far more likable and you're going to be far more successful. And now they want to hear about that awesome product, that awesome service that you offer, and you can turn that into some really good profits down the road for yourself. The second is the law of identity. When we come to these networking sessions, wear a name tag. You all should, if you're in business, you should own a name tag that clearly states your business name and your name. If you don't, give me a call. I will get you to, I know a whole bunch of people that make these and they do a great job, but wear those everywhere. Anytime you're on the clock and you're doing some networking, even the after hours events, because people will start to equate you to your business. You become the face of your business. When I was back to my pest control days and wearing my name tag everywhere, I was wondering, hey, is this networking really paying off? And Doug Foster, who owned Burt's, called me on a Sunday and he says, hey, I don't know if to be proud of you or to be upset with you. He says, but I was just shopping at Kroger and I had 3 people come up to me and say, when did you sell the business? Because Bob's out there just killing it. And, I never told anybody I bought the business, but the fact that they saw my name associated with Burt's at a lot of community events, that was the assumption. So make sure you identify yourself, let people know who you are. People do business with people they know, like, and trust. That is the most important thing to remember. So the quicker they can know you, the better. And there's also some people like myself that are just simply horrible with names. I know faces. I can tell everybody, I can look in a group of people and tell you where they work and what they do and try to send referrals to them. I just, a lot of times, forget their names. I'm getting better at it, but it's really tough. So you want to make sure that you're easily identifiable. The third one is the Law of Columbo. And I'm probably dating myself a little bit. I'm sure there's a few of the young folks that have never seen Columbo. Columbo he had a TV show and he was kind of the modern day Sherlock Holmes. And he would solve these really intricate crimes by doing nothing but asking questions. Columbo was just annoying with the amount of questions he would ask. And then at the last 15 minutes of the show, he would say, well, based on everybody's answers, I know who the killer was, or I know who stole the cookies, whatever the case was, and he would come out. So questions are really important. They're going to lead to better relationships and more success in your networking. And again, the more we can ask people questions about what they do and give them a chance to tell us, the more that relationship's going to grow and the more they're going to be genuinely interested in you because they feel like you care about them. And everybody loves that. So just make sure you ask a ton of questions. And then we get to one of my favorites here as far as a membership director is the law of process and patience. And that's going to tell us that networking success is not a singular action and it takes time. When you want to get out and involved and say, hey, I want to raise my visibility in the community, I want to start getting more referrals, and you say, this is what I'm going to do. I've circled this networking event coming up in June, and I'm going to go to it, and it's going to change my life. And the reality is, no, it's not. It's a singular event. You may get some work from it. You may get work from that event 6-8 months down the road that comes back around. But the whole purpose of all of this is it's not a singular action. It takes time. You need to go and then come back. Some of the psychologists say people need to hear something 5 to 7 times before they remember it. So if you told them once, they're not remembering you yet. So just keep at it. That's one of the really important things. And then let's talk a little bit about the law of reciprocity. This is one of my favorites. And this comes from social psychologists. I had a chance to sit down in my sales career and went to Atlanta, Georgia, and spoke with a guy for a weekend. And he was a former FBI profiler that went out to the small business world and is killing it with sales because he didn't think like everyone else. He wasn't a sales guy. He understood how people thought, and he understood that if we can get into the emotional part of their brain, they will buy your goods and service without question. If you're constantly telling them that I have the best service, we have the most highly trained employees, look at the great reviews on this product, all that is data driven. And when people have great data, they will take it in. And then what they want to do is they want to just sit on it and think about it, because that's what we do as humans with data. But if you can get into the emotional side, now you can have a lot more success. But the law of reciprocity, this is what they say. It says, when someone does something that's truly nice for you, you will have a deep-rooted psychological urge to do something nice in return. As a matter of fact, you may even return the gesture far more generous than the original good deed. And what that all equals is if you want more referrals, give more referrals. People will be so flabbergasted that you took the time to connect them with somebody neat that in the back of your mind, you go, hey, I owe them a referral and I'm going to find one. And you start actively looking where before you didn't. We can go back to if I ask everybody in the room, who's your favorite teacher growing up? It's probably not the subject matter that made them your favorite teacher. It is this connection that you had. They did so much for you. They helped me find a career. They helped me with this. And you all feel obligated. On that last day of school, it's like, I want to bring them flowers. Even kids do that, with teachers. It's like, I want to get something nice for my teacher. Well, that's because the teacher did something nice for them. It's a psychological reaction that humans have. And we should play on that on networking. It's the old what goes around comes around. And if you're the one giving referrals, you will get more referrals. That is just a fact that we can't outrun. The next law is the law of the trust gap. And this one's a little bit interesting. It basically states that one of the hardest parts of a new business relationship is building trust. We all talk about people do business with people they know, they like, and they trust. And so here's where that trust comes in. A lot of times what you'll find is whether it's a referral or it's you give them some time, you connect them to someone else, you listen to what they have to say. But if you give something of legitimate value, and it doesn't have to be a product, however, you see a lot of people do this where, hey, here's a free sample. And they're doing that because once you give something, someone something of legitimate value, you show people that you're being friendly, honest, and helpful. You're showing them that your intent is not to just get in their wallets, but sincerely help them and solve the problem with the solution you have to offer. And that is huge. And so the more we can do for others, the more they'll do for us. And that's really important so that we can bridge that trust gap. And where that gap lies is what you expect and what you experience. So you also want to make sure that we follow through on everything we say. Even if it's as simple as, hey, would you call me and tell me more about this on Tuesday? Call them on Tuesday because they expect you, to call you on Tuesday. If you called them on Tuesday, you gave them the experience that you promised, and you can go from there. But once that we get a gap between what we expect and what we experience, we no longer trust that business or that person, and that will end the relationship. And so be very mindful of those trust gaps and what we can do from that spot. And the last of my law of networking is the law of creative networking. And that says, and we've kind of touched on this earlier, when you're at these networking events, you're not only networking with the people in attendance, you're also networking with everyone in their personal networks. As a result, everyone in the room at the event is a possible referral source for you, and is somebody we need to talk to. So I always kid people when they'll look and they'll say, hey, man, this doesn't make sense. I don't know, the people that you have coming to this event aren't the people I'm looking for. And they may be correct, but the people that they think aren't right also have a whole bunch of friends, family, coworkers, other business networking people that may be a perfect fit. So it's always important to tell them. My favorite creative networking story we had at the chamber is we had a young lady that was trying to get in with a few of the large manufacturers and couldn't get past the gatekeepers. And we had an OSHA training. And she said, she called in and she said, hey, who's going to be at that OSHA training? And found out that the head of a lot of these manufacturers were going to be there. And she says, well, go ahead and register for me. Register me for the event. I'm going to that. And she showed up in a t-shirt and a pair of jeans and some work boots and didn't look out of place. And everybody talked. And on the first chance she got to go introduce herself, she introduced herself as a treasurer at a bank. And everybody was like, wow, that is really cool. Why did you come to an OSHA event? She said, to meet you. And she ended up closing 3 of the 5 that she was after because she got creative and went to an OSHA event. No one in their right mind is going to want to talk banking at an OSHA event, but she got in the door. So creative networking is really, really important. So it doesn't have to be, all of this networking doesn't have to be scary. It really doesn't. It's, if you've got a plan, you've done your preparation, you'll feel better and more confident. And then as we approach the event coming up, follow these tips we talked about today, and you're going to have a lot of success. And the big things I want to go over here today is know, like, and trust. People do business with people they know, like, and trust. That's something we cannot get away from, and we need to keep that in mind. And then VCP is Tim Cooney's favorite term. And any of the old people that have ever had a chance to talk networking with Mr. Cooney is very familiar with VCP, and that is visibility leads to credibility, which then leads to profitability. So all those things we talked about, the visibility of actually showing up, having that name tag, it's going to lead to people thinking you're credible in what you do. And then you work really hard to bridge that trust gap. And before long, you'll have a lot of profitability. And then one of the BNI tips has always been, which is a Business Networking International group. And they always teach about giver's gain, where the idea is the more we can give freely to, our people that we're dealing with and offer help, the more help is going to come back. So that is really what I had to talk about today. And I think that's the end. Yes, that is the end. So if anybody has any questions or anything, or any comments, or, hey, does anything work for you? Feel free to let us know.
I'm like a super introvert on most occasions, but you push me out of my element, Bob, and I appreciate that, and certainly appreciate what it is that you put together here for us. I don't necessarily like going into a crowd, but I know when I see a nice face in the crowd that I can certainly go up to and talk to them, and I think this definitely helps. Appreciate
it. I think you said it on introvert, because I'm the guy that will talk to a whole bunch of people, all day, and everybody's like, oh, he's so outgoing. And when I get home, I'm just like, turn the phone off. I just want to watch TV. I recharge by myself. I've got a vacation coming, and I'm planning on sitting on the beach with my wife, and I don't want to talk to anybody. And it's funny how we do that. But I think you get to the point where you realize, hey, this is all really important to my business, and I'm going to get good at it. And it's a skill. It's not something that is an introvert or an extrovert have any real advantage on. The introverts have to do it. And so if you look at it as a skill, similar to learning how to ski, you may not know how to ski and don't like it, but you give it a shot and you find out, I'm still not very good at it, but I can ski now. And then you just practice skiing. I think that's kind of like what this networking is. You just get into a groove, you kind of get some skills behind your back, and you just go. So it's good for the introverts as well. And there's a lot of really introverted people that you'll meet at networking events, and they usually talk the loudest and the most. It's always been an interesting thing with me. Anyone else have anything?
When I go to networking events, I usually just try to talk to one person at a time. And, and I do have the mindset, it's like, okay, I'm going to meet just a few people today. And if I don't meet anybody else, at least I've met those few people. And if it turns into something great, and if it doesn't, maybe they'll know somebody who needs my service. So I think that, naturally, I don't like talking to large groups. I mean, I can, and I've done it before, but I prefer just talking one-on-one to people. So I keep that in mind.
Yep. And that's super important. Like I say, the guy who comes into a room of 70 people and decides I'm going to meet everybody just comes off as pushy. And nobody likes that guy. And everybody can go to a networking event, and by your third one, you've got a list of a couple guys going, I really don't want to sit at his table. I don't need the hard sell today. And, at the beginning of our networking event, we kind of joke that if anybody's giving you the hard sale, I'll bounce them on out of there. I'll be the bouncer for that. And just to try to remind people, we had one of our ambassadors in the insurance actually wrote a insurance policy on a napkin at an event, and had to call me and say, Bob, this event was awesome, but I did write a quote at the event, and I'm sorry. And it was just kind of funny that he was so self-conscious about trying not to push it. He says, but the guy between sessions just came up and he says, well, can you get me a quote on this? And he's like, yeah. And he says, I called the office and had it. I just gave it to him and he got the deal. But so I think that's important. I think that you're on the right track, because the fewer conversations, I always say, the better conversations you can have.
I think that's like when you said, have 3 people in mind, right? Have 3 people, or, I'm going to talk to 3 people. If it's an hour long, that's 20 minutes per person, right? And you're able to get to know them on a personal level. And that is the key to networking, is that 30-second elevator speech hurts sometimes more than it helps. So I've heard that advice from you many times. And so I always keep it in the back of my head. So thanks for that, Bob.
It's all relationship driven. The better relationships we can build, the better businesses we'll build. But if anybody else has anything, let us know. Otherwise, I promised I would get you out early on a Friday, and we're going to hold to that. I know networking's one of those. Yes, absolutely.
Can I make a plug for Think Local?
Oh, so go right ahead.
Yeah. So for those who don't know me, I'm Chrissy Riley. I'm on the Think Local committee. We are wanting to invite more people to our committee to hear from you guys on what we can do to help with the community, to keep pushing people both in business and consumers to think local. So June, what's the date? 16th at 4:00. Is that what the date we said?
Yes.
Correct.
Is the meeting. So if you guys want to join us, June 16th, 4:00, you can reach out to me, the Think Local, Columbus@gmail.com, anyway, to get information on that.
And that meeting will be held right here in the room we're sitting in today, or that I am here at the chamber.
I have a question.
Yes.
Okay, so recently I've been trying to take on more of a sales role in my company. And I've been doing some cold calling, which is, I guess, a form of networking, if you look at it one way. And what are some approaches that you might take when you are cold calling somebody that don't sound salesy? Do you have any advice?
Cold calling is kind of the bane of the sales world. So, and it's necessary. We all do it. And you will learn to have a really thick skin. I used to cold call. I've had people throw my business card away in person right in front of me, and ask me to leave. And so no has never been a thing I've struggled with. You just get used to it. I think when we cold call, the answer is just try to be genuine is one of the things. I cold call, but what I do on a lot of our cold calls is I'll go through the paper. And if I read something cool about a business that's not in the chamber, I will mention that first and say, we would love to have you in. So trying to find some sort of a connection between the two, or learn something about their business before you call. If you just call somebody and say, hey, this is who I am and this is what I want, the answer is, I don't have time to talk to you. But if you come in and the first thing, if you're ever doing it in person, what I have learned is if you come in and say, I need to talk, I would like to see, the answer is no. But if you walk into that gatekeeper at the office and say, can you help me? Everybody wants to help. And the first answer is yes. And now you're well on your way. If you're cold calling a business and you don't know who to talk to, what I do a lot of times is I'll call whoever answers the phone and say, hey, can you help me? This is who I'm looking for. I know I don't have an appointment and I'm not going to bother them today, but if you could get me some contact information, I've got some information I think that may help them. As opposed to come in with I need this, and hey, is the manager here? That's the kiss of death. Every time somebody asks for the manager, they have no idea who you are, and the answer is no, they're not here, and they're sitting across the table, and he's like, nope, not here. But and just do your research as best as you can. It's different if you're doing an email campaign. That might be, kind of a hunt and hope approach is what I say. You throw out a big net and hope you catch something. But when we're cold calling, especially if it's somebody you've identified, so you've identified them as a potential client or, someone on your, perfect referral list, do the research, find out anything about the company, and heaven forbid they've had a 25th anniversary the past week, or they just opened a second location. And if you can come in and say, man, I just wanted to come congratulate you guys for opening that second location. That is fantastic. Hey, this is what I do. And if I can help, as you go through and expand and I can help you grow, I'd love to, and that's where you drop your information off and try to get contact information. A lot of times I've always viewed cold calls as a non-sales event from the get-go. And what a cold call is a chance to either obtain contact information, the possibility of coming back. I'll do things if I don't, let's say my research failed and I'm still like, hey, I'm right here, I'm going in. What I will do is when I go in and talk to them, it's like, hey, this is who I am. And, will you help me? And they say, sure. And I said, I'm looking to talk to somebody. I don't have an appointment and I don't want to take up any of their time today. But if you could get me an email address, or is it okay if I mail you this, package or information? A lot of times people are far more receptive to that because you didn't come across as salesy. And rather than work on sales, well, everybody, you just say you took over a sales role. We're all salespeople. If you're in business, you're a salesperson at some level. But what I think is I would always try to replace sales with help. How can I help you? What can I do for you? And that sort of thing. And people a lot of times will tell you, and if you can, heaven forbid, when I was selling pest control, they'd say they have spiders. I'd talk to the husband and I'd be like, who's seeing them? How many? Tell me about it. And he says, well, we're seeing them up in the bedroom. I'm like, oh, well, that's not a good place. And he says, no, every time I see one, my wife makes me get out of bed at 2:30 in the morning, and hit it with the shoe. And I just want a good night's sleep. Well, now what I thought that he called because he had spiders. That's not the reason. He called because he didn't want to get up at 2:30 and smash one with the shoe and have his wife yell at him. So rather than that, the response then is, okay, well, here's something I can do. And when we're done with this program, your wife's going to want to take you out to dinner because she's not going to see any more spiders. And now we're in the emotional side. And if you can get to that point, the response back is, when can you do it? It's not how much does it cost? What chemical are you going to use? Is it safe? It's when can you do it? And you can really build that emotional side. So just try to focus more on cold calling as finding a way that I can help you and leading into the help as opposed to, hey, I've got this great service that'll blow you away. Because they're like, yeah, you and the last 25 people that have come in here, have said that, and we don't believe you. So just if you can separate yourself with kindness and offering legitimate help, that should help you. And having said all of that, cold calls are still not fun. And I don't know of anybody that just goes, I love the cold call.
Thank you.
That was great. Any other questions?
Yeah, Bob,
I just would say,
oh, sorry, excuse me.
no, it's okay. I was going to add to that, the gatekeeper, network with them. Just because they're not a decision maker doesn't mean that they're not a huge influence when talking to the decision maker. So even if you just become friends with the gatekeeper, that's huge.
I used to actually, treat everybody like the CEO, because you never know who has the ear of the decision maker. I used to walk around factories, walk in the back door and ask to talk to the maintenance supervisor because nobody wants to talk to him. And then I show him some pictures of some stuff that have gone wrong with his pest control side and say, hey, do you have an email address? And it was always non-business related. It was personal, but he would give it to me. And I would write that down and I would send him the pictures with a quick proposal, and the decision maker would call 2 weeks later. Because he went to him and said, hey, did you know this was not up to snuff? And did you know we could do this differently? Because you went and talked to him. He just felt so good that you talked to him. So I always encourage people, never, even if it's not the person at the business that you need to be talking with, talk with them. Talk to everybody like they are the decision maker. If you can make them feel good and comfortable with you, they're going to tell the decision maker. And a lot of times that's all the difference.
And I just want to say, for those of you that don't know me, my name's Aubrey Jackson Connor, and I am a physical therapist with Flourish Physical Therapy and Wellness, or Flourish Columbus. And we are a new business that just opened this year. And this session was incredibly helpful for me. I can't wait to share this information with my partner as we start to attend more of the chamber events. This will be really helpful. So thank you, Bob.
Oh, you're welcome. And we'll send out the slide deck. And so you can kind of have a quick reminder if you didn't jot down enough notes. I also, as while we're on the subject of wrapping up, tonight at 4 o'clock, which is a really weird time for us to have a ribbon cutting. First of all, it's a Friday rather than our typical Thursday, and it's at 4 o'clock, not 4:30. So today, Friday at 4 o'clock, we actually have a ribbon cutting for T-Mobile, in the old Blockbuster building across from the Burger King, if you're an old school Columbus person. But that should be a lot of fun, and everyone's invited to that. So I encourage everybody, if you want to say, hey, I just got these really cool networking skills, I want to go give them a shot. There's your first opportunity. You can use them tonight at 4. So, but we would love to have you. I always, we get a little nervous at the chamber. We tell people, hey, when you do one on a Friday, it's tough to get a crowd because usually everybody by 4 o'clock is worried about going home. So if anybody can make it, we'd love to see you out at that. And if nobody else has anything, I will just get everybody else out on their beautiful Friday. The sun's shining here in Columbus, and it's going to be a great day. I need to get out to the airport and look at Brian's giant plane that they're wheeling out. So we're looking at doing speaking of networking, I know there's a lot of ambassadors on the call. If you're not a chamber ambassador, you should be. I always, to steal a line from a friend, if you're not an ambassador, your competition is. So, feel free to reach out, but we're really excited. I've been working with Brian and on the big flying box car, I think they call it. We're going to try to do a chamber luncheon on the inside of that. So it's really cool. You get a little bit of a history of a plane, and then you get to do some networking. So really looking forward to that one. So, but remember T-Mobile tonight at 4 o'clock. So everybody have a great day. If I can help you with anything, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I wanted to thank Chrissy and the Think Local Columbus team for putting these sessions together. Our next one, I believe it's next month or June 17th, is going to be on content calendars for social media posts, how to schedule those out to make sure that you're getting the right message to the right people at the right time. That one should be really interesting. Caitlin Supez, I think, is going to lead that one. If Chrissy isn't, I'm not sure.
I'm not. No, Caitlin is.
Caitlin is. Okay, so Caitlin's got that one. So, everybody come back and join that. And the whole Think Local Columbus idea is we're just trying to get information out to our businesses to help make everybody successful, along with the Think Local. So it would be a great event. We'd love to see you there. Enjoy your last day here of the week, make it successful, and then have a great weekend. And we will see you soon. If the chamber can help you, just give me a call. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
Thank you.